Before moving to the next panel, I would like to inform you for the upcoming forum, the new Maritime Challenges, Maritime Forum, taking place on Tuesday, November 21st, organized by the French-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce, where Mr. Philippe Louis-Dreyfus, forthcoming panelists, is the chairman and president. The France-Greece Chamber of Commerce and Industry counts 380 members and promotes economic ties between France and Greece. They have recently formed the Maritime Committee to enhance cooperation in the maritime industry. Their upcoming event includes discussions on cyber risks and environmental concerns in the maritime sector, featuring experts from both countries, where Danai Bezantakou will also feature as a speaker for the roundtable titled Intervention, Good Reputation as Attractiveness Factor for Young People. So, let's now call the new panel on stage, Mastering the Tides of Change, Navigating Through Experiments and Dilemmas. Please let me call on stage Mr. Philippe Louis-Dreyfus, Dreyfus, Chairman, Louis-Dreyfus ARMATEURS and President of the Maritime Committee of the French-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Alex Hadjipateras, Managing Director of Dorian LPG, and Dr. Kostas Rokkos, Chairman and CEO of TST International SA, and of course, our moderator, Edwin Lampert, Riviera Maritime Media's Executive Editor and Head of Business Relations. Welcome.
I hope to see you yesterday. Did you come yesterday from London? No.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with a social experiment. So what I want you to do is take your mobile phone and put it in your left hand. Mobile phone, left hand. The other left. I now want you to transfer your mobile phone to your right hand. We've gone from our left to our right. I now want you to raise your hand with your mobile phone above your head.
No. Just sit on your...
Slowly,
yes.
I want you to keep your arm extended and take it to the center of the table and release. You're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. I promise. It's going to be okay. Your cooperation with that will be thoroughly rewarded, because to my left, I have three eminent experts who've already been introduced, so I won't repeat the exercise. Here's how it's going to go. I'm going to allow each of the three gentlemen to offer 2 or 3 minutes worth of establishing remarks around the topic that we will be addressing, a strict 2-3 minutes, and then we'll go into Q&A. But ahead of them doing that, please join me in giving them all the warmest of welcomes. Thank you. Introduce yourself and your establishment.
Hello, good afternoon. Kalispera to all. I'm Philippe Louis-Dreyfus. I'll be happy to answer questions on maybe the three main topics I would like to address briefly today. One, and I will not be very long on that because it's been a very important issue for many of us for a long time, which is the environment issue. But there are two others which I would like to address. One is the image of shipping, which is changing, and the views of the public and the politics. And the other is the evolution we have experienced in my group. We were 100% in transportation of goods, bulk transportation, 20 years ago, and for 160 years. And in the last 20 years, we got out of that, and we're totally today in what is called smart shipping. I mean, service, industrial shipping at sea. So these are the three issues I would like to address and answer questions to. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. And thank you, Denai, and everybody from Navigator. I'm delighted to see that the conference will be going to Chios and Enoussis again next year, so that will be wonderful. I think that earlier today we heard some great points and highlighted a lot of the challenges regarding the future fuels and supply, demand, the framework. But if we do take a sort of gap analysis from where we are today and where we have to go, I am optimistic that there will be a lot of investment. There has been already. There's one of the flagship founders funds that there will need to be $1 trillion of investment in clean energy to move us to reach these net zero goals. I'm very positive about AI and data, and I think, again, many of the challenges regarding common standard, collaboration, usefulness of data have been highlighted. But I think we are on the train. It is moving, and we have to keep going forward. I question, and we can talk about it in a little bit, the timeline and some of the challenges there with regard to new fuels like ammonia. And that's an ongoing thing, and these will have to happen in parallel tracks. But conferences like this afford us the opportunity to discuss these points, and that's one of the highlights. So thank you.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I would like also, from my side, to thank Bezaдаkov's family for inviting me here as a speaker. It's always my pleasure. It's a great work, what they've done today. As probably you already know, I'm quite simplistic in my approaches. I would like to touch things, let's say, in the heart than to discuss generally. From my side, first of all, I would like to define what does it mean change, where we are heading. What is the outcome of all this, which we discuss here today and also in other conferences, and how this will affect the crew and staff personnel towards to this end. And additionally, I would like to clarify from my side a whole of the total discussion of digitalization, AI, and those fancy words, which I think for most of the people are quite difficult to understand how these are interrelated. For me, it would be a pleasure just to figure out this relationship so as to understand how these things will affect us practically in everyday business. And also, for me, it's important to discuss a little bit about the representation of all this, what we are doing, through the ESG concept, and a few things I would like to discuss about the market-based measurements, which will affect the EU ETS. I think probably I have not so much time, Edwin, but I would be quite brief to discuss all of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, one and all. Thank you very much. Still thank you very much. I'm really grateful to the three of you. You too. I have two questions for you, good sir, to get the ball rolling, but of course others can chip in on these questions. They're rather general. Question one of two. Which strategic risks keep you up at night? That's the first one. The second one is, what most excites you about the future of shipping? So strategic risks, and what most excites you about the future of shipping?
Thank you, Edwin. So I understand we have each of us a couple of hours to answer your questions. Yeah, okay. Strategy. There are many ways of answering, many answers. I mean, because one of the, I mentioned I wanted to talk about the image of shipping, which is worrying me because it's going from very good to maybe to very bad in the future. That's strategic. But another strategic point, and we answered that in my own group, Louis-Dreyfus. We've been for 165 years in bulk transportation. We sold our last ships last year, 26 of them. Now we have still a fleet of 90 ships, but all in service shipping, smart shipping, as it has been called before, and there was a panel on that issue earlier. more and more, I'm not saying there will be less and less transportation of goods, but more and more shipping, industrial activity will be done at sea for two reasons. One is that there are needs for these activities to be done not on the ground, and the second reason is that some of the activities have to be done at sea, like research, and maybe one day for some countries mining, which France has forbidden to do itself, shooting it in its own feet, but that's another story. And the third reason for this evolution to industrial shipping is the cost of operating ships in most countries in Europe. And that's why we did it in our group. Carrying rice or coal can be done not as well as we can do it maybe in Europe, but definitely in a way, in a less expensive way. That's why we got into cable laying, offshore windmill logistics, seismic research, transportation, yes, but very specialized transportation like Airbus and bits and pieces and missiles and things like that. Value-added shipping, that is the answer I would give to your strategic question. More and more value-added shipping and less, for some people, pure transportation.
Thank you. Two questions for yourself, Alex. You may find them related. Number one of two, how does growing use of digitalization and data analytics create value in your operations? That's the first one of two. And secondly, where do you see the greatest potential for disruptive change or new opportunity in the industry?
Thanks, Edwin. Regarding the first question of value, in many ways, we are carrying LPG, and so we are risk managers. So one of the answers to your question is, I see the increasing use of data as an enabler to help us not automate, but augment how we manage that risk. And I also see that in how when we go through ports, and we talked a little bit about the whole supply chain and infrastructure, how a port like Singapore can help manage that risk as well. So that's definitely a value add, because many of our customers look to us to complete that supply chain, from buying a cargo to shipping the cargo, getting it in time to a facility in China or wherever. Regarding the disruption, was this the second question? I think that the disruption going forward will be a little bit towards automation, how we have to upskill, change the role maybe. Seafarer was discussed before, but how we look at like situational awareness on the bridge, if we have tools that help enhance, using AI there, what is the role of the seafarer? I mean, you look at a little bit like the airline industry, that, the pilots are managing takeoff and landing, but they have a lot of automation. So I think the talent and skills and training is going to be one of the key disruptions for the next 20 to 30 years.
Your answer neatly anticipates the two questions I have for you, Kostas. They're both crew-orientated. One of two, how can crews be trained to leverage analytics and smart shipping? That's one of two. And second of two is, how will automation impact crew skills and roles?
Okay, thank you, Edwin. First of all, I would like to notice, what we mean by the word change. We have all understood that we are moving towards a new way of shipping, meaning that in the next 20 years, up to 2030, this is a common understanding, that autonomous ships will be in action and on action. So this is the idea, that we are moving towards autonomous ships. I keep that for the end. So in the meantime, up to that time, we have to use our own crews, our own people. We have to select the best, the talented, the skilled. But we should keep in mind that we should employ new people. New people, I'm talking about this Z generation, 90 built onwards, in order to give them the opportunity to learn from the old people and use them at a later stage ashore than on board. This is important. So, the idea is that we should utilize the opportunity of the experience the old people, the old master officers have on board, in order to give to the new people, to new employees, the opportunity to get skills and experience. The idea is that I move a little bit to the digitalization. What we say as digitalization means we collect data. Now it's more fancy because we are in the era of big data, meaning that we can collect a lot of data. But the idea is this is a very simple thing. Everybody could collect data. And then what is next? We have identified 5 years ago that the most important is the AI. What do we mean by the word AI? The algorithms which will combine the numbers and give us logical interpretation. And this is something which is not easy. So to collect data, to become digital is easy. To move forward, to move further to AI stage level is very, very difficult. And you cannot do it only by outsourcing. I mean, the whole industry should work, and each one of us, in order to create his own algorithms and get data and get conclusions which should be tested and found reliable concerning risk management approach, as Alex said before. So, crew is very important for the moment and will be much more important in the future. But we need a special path to teach these people, the young generation, to put them on board probably, and to teach them how to become shore captains. Sorry.
No, all good. We have 3 more questions. It's the same 3 questions for all 3 panelists. Perhaps, Alex, you can get the ball rolling, others to follow. The 3 questions: what fuel alternatives hold the most promise for shipping? Secondly, how can the industry equitably allocate the costs of decarbonisation? And third of 3, how can vessel-owning companies balance financial sustainability with growing ESG demands?
This is like a Rubik's Cube. You give the best
You're
for
equal
last.
to it. You're equal to it.
No, I mean, which fuel options? I can say what we're looking at. I mean, we have now LPG, so we have this fuel. We're looking at alternatives. I think before going to the fuel, someone touched on carbon capture. So at London International Maritime Week, there was a report released by ABS, and it would be naive to think that we will reach our targets without having a significant amount of carbon capture going forward. And again, there's, I don't think, a clear winner with the fuel, so that's the sort of cliche answer, but there's, of course, methanol, which is tested before, ammonia with its inherent risks, but there's a lot of hazards and work that's gone through to how to mitigate some of those risks. So those are 2 that I would mention.
In terms of equitably allocating the costs of decarbonisation, what would you say to that?
Just that the charterer should have to pay.
Fair enough.
No. I think you have to look at supply and demand. It has to make sense. So if you're going to order new buildings, it has to not be 10 million more because shipping is inherently cyclical. It so happened that we've been through several very good years with very good returns for many sectors. The yards have increased prices, but the business case has to make sense in what is still a very cyclical industry. So,
well, you mentioned business case, the third of 3, and then I'll come to yourself, if I may. How can companies balance financial sustainability with growing ESG requirements?
I think I heard the earlier panel with Hill Dickinson and more. I think there are opportunities there. So, for example, with finance, to leverage maybe some green finance opportunities, to try and talk about the substance of what you're doing in terms of ESG and communicate that to the various stakeholders. Those are ways to continue to differentiate. And I do think there's been a lot of progress made towards transparency in shipping over the last 10, 15 years in terms of sharing with customers what's going on. So whether it's how much emissions you use with shipping a part or whatever, I think those are all opportunities for small, medium, and large players to differentiate.
Thank you. May I ask you the same 3 questions, Philippe? So the 3 questions to repeat: the fuel alternatives that hold the most promise, spreading the cost of decarbonisation equitably, and third of 3, how do we balance financial sustainability with ESG?
I will try not to answer to any of these three questions and try to sum it up or have it a common answer. Decarbonization. It has taken a very, very long time to be aware that there's an environment problem in shipping. I've been head of XR, head of BIMCO. It's been really hard to convince some of our fellow ship owners that it was an issue 15 years ago, and it will be an issue, and it is an issue today. So it took a long time to be conscious of that. It will still take a long time to have solutions, because for two reasons. One is mentioned in your question, is the enormous costs involved. It's not millions, it's not billions, it's trillions, for I understand from a specialist. Some of these specialists are serious people, so it might be a good figure. It's enormous cost, and I don't know how we're going to answer to that. So it will take a long time. Also, I'm not sure everybody has interest to finding an easy, quick, economical solution. I've got one. I've been having this idea for years, not having any kind of enthusiastic answer from ship owners, from shipbuilders, engineers in motoring companies. It's just speed limitation. It has been mentioned before. I've been on that for 5 years. It's easy solution. It's immediately efficient. It's no cost at all. Why don't we, ship owners, apart from maybe container vessels and the ferries who need to go fast for obvious reasons, most of the bulk shipping, would it be wet or dry, we don't need to run very quickly and then wait in the port for 2 or 3 days or 3 weeks. So really, let's reduce speed. That's an easy solution. It costs no one anything. Maybe it's against the interest of a lot of engineers in the world who are taking their time to find ideal solutions. There will be an ideal solution in a long time, not immediately. So it's nice to have a speed limitation, at least waiting for the ideal solutions.
Thank you. Kostas, could we have your take on the 3 questions, please?
Would you like, please remind me the first one only?
The first one was the which fuel alternatives...
Okay, I got it. Look, for me, looking in a simple way, I would say that in order to meet the CII, because this is our primary target, the best is to use the idea of biofuels. Biofuels in a way of blending. Blending biofuels with diesel oil is an opportunity to reduce your CII to the required level. Of course, probably you know that biofuel is 100% more expensive than the diesel oil, and this will affect the income of the ship owners. But this is, I think, the easiest solution. Needed a little bit cautious regarding maintenance and operation using biofuels, the temperature you will use them, the blending. But I think as a first effort, it is workable. At the second stage, I'm waiting to see, 3 or 4 years ago, I was in favor of carbon capture. I have seen this in the United States in some facilities, but I'm not sure that this will be the end of the chosen fuel, alternative fuel. Regarding the next one was for?
Spreading the cost, equitably, spreading the cost of decarbonization.
Spreading the cost, I'm not sure. I've been so many years in shipping, I have never seen charters paying the extra cost. But I think at the end it would be a split, like what was happening for the sulfur, case, the SOx case. At the beginning we thought that the charters will pay for it, and then they came back and said we'll split the cost. And I think this is the formula they will use also for the cost of the alternative fuel. And for the ESG, I think the last one was for the ESG. First of all, ESG is important for those who get money from others. From those who are self-financed, I mean, is not any additional value other than I mean, their representation to the industry. This is a very useful tool in order to raise money. You demonstrate to the common investors that you are a competent person, respecting the environment, respecting the social and governance, I mean, principles. And we have seen that even, I mean, commercial bonds are using ESG, I mean, as a key issue, I mean, to get sold to the investors. And I think that by incorporating this in the IFRS, I think this will be a usual, I mean, procedure for the accounting people.
Thank you. Last question. Same question for all three. I'll need you to be very concise in your responses. Same question for all three. Gentlemen, what do you see as you scroll forward the next 5 to 10 years? 5 to 10 years. What do you see as the biggest opportunity? What do you see as the biggest threat? And what's the good news?
Just one word on sharing the cost. I forgot to say, I want to come back on that. I think that it's obvious, sharing the cost of decarbonization, we will not be sharing it. Only one entity will be paying for that, the consumer, clearly. And politicians and people and professionals don't want to say that loudly, but it's the public who's going to pay for decarbonization. So there's no sharing really at the end. To try to answer your question, I said about the opportunity is more and more activities at sea, industrial activities at sea, under the sea, above the sea sometimes, but under the sea also, but above the sea, but with ships. That's maybe for opportunities. And the main risk, if I can say, is, as I mentioned earlier, we have a risk of image. We were a solution for environment. Now we are seen as polluters, which is not totally untrue, but globally untrue. We are seen as starving people because we're making huge profits. Some people in shipping, not all, definitely, huge profits and paying little tax with the tonnage tax. And some also in our world are war profiteers. And so all these reasons mean that we might have a real problem of image, and that's bad for our professions, and it's also bad for, at least in Europe, the regulations we benefit from, at least from the tonnage tax, which could be in the eyes of the public and, of course, of the politicians, something which could be suppressed one day, and that would be dreadful.
Thank you. For opportunity, I think the uncertainty that exists now provides counterintuitively an opportunity for someone to take a bet and sort of pick a direction. The threats are that direction may not be technically viable for the longer term, of course. And then, of course, I would like to mention the human element, and with all these new fuels and making sure that our seafarers are safe as they maintain engines with these new fuels. And the third point?
The good news.
No, the good news is, you mentioned about the consumer paying, that even since COVID, shipping has raised its profile in a way, because during COVID, people realized you need ships to bring your books from Amazon. So I think that, yes, shipping has had a media issue, public relations issue historically, but there is a renewed focus on shipping under the auspices of all these targets that we have, and that can bring new people, new ideas, and new initiatives to the industry and how we move forward, and I think that's exciting.
Okay, so, of course, obviously, the biggest threat in shipping nowadays is the unforeseen events. We have seen, due to climate change, disasters. We have seen also geopolitical threats. We have seen also cyber threats, which is one also important issue. And I would say that all these threats, including pandemic and economic disruptions, are the major threats for the ship owner to alter the course of profitability, I would say. On the other hand, The opportunities I can see would be due to diversification. The shipowners should diversify trading routes in order to avoid some of those, diversify type of ships, and generally diversification gives an advantage. Even in the crew, diversification is important for sustainability. The good thing at the end is that, in my opinion, that the talents and the professionals in shipping will prevail. And this is the good news, in my opinion.
Thank you very much indeed. As Athens has said before me, there's nothing permanent except change, and clearly there are some uncertainties that remain, but this dialogue, I think, has all given us an insight into how we can navigate the inevitable and coming storms. On behalf of all of us, I sincerely thank our panellists for their tremendous insights. I hope these exchanges have provided you with some inspiration as you navigate the tides of change. Please join me in warmly thanking them, and you may pick up your phones.